was hard for Josiah to keep being a good king when he was 8 years old and had like people bowing down to him because he was king?
Good question. Was it difficult for Josiah to be a good king when he was only 8 years old? That would kind of go to your head a little bit, you know. Just bring me candy. I don't. Probably. I think he must have had some good people around him to help him. That's the only explanation. Okay, we're moving on to our next civilization today, and that is the Babylonian civilization. Now, remember at the last that we saw of the Assyrians, they were defeated by the Babylonians. So as we begin looking at the Babylonian civilization, we're going to back up a little bit, not very much, to what had just happened previously and go over some of that from the perspective of the Babylonians. Now, when we talk about the Babylonian Empire, we're really talking about the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Because remember, before we had the old Babylonian Empire, remember that long time ago? And who was it that were the people of the old Babylonian Empire? What was the tribe of people called? They were the same tribe that were called Hyksos when they invaded Egypt. Starts with an A.
Ammonites?
What was that?
Ammonites?
Close, but not a match. The Ammonites and the Moabites lived near Israel.
Assyrians?
The old Babylonian kingdom was made up of Amorites. The Amorites. It's out of them that Abraham comes. He is probably an Amorite because they are related to the Hebrews through Abraham. This is a new kingdom. These are not Amorites anymore. These are Chaldeans. So sometimes this is called the Chaldean Empire. Sometimes it's called the Neo-Babylonian Empire because it's the newer one. Sometimes it's just called the Babylonian Empire, and you got to figure out it's this one, not the old one. All right? So most of the time, you probably see Babylonian Empire. If it's the old one, it'll always say Old Babylonian or even Amorite. All right, so this is the Chaldean Empire, the Neo-Babylonian. Here are the kings that are ruling over this empire. We start with Nabopolassar. Then we come to Nebuchadnezzar. You've all heard of him. Then we have Amel-Marduk or Evil Merodach, Neriglissar, Labashi-Marduk, and Nabonidus. Now, most of these guys in between we're not going to say too much about. Most of our attention is going to be on Nebuchadnezzar, and then at the end on Nabonidus. But you can see the Empire of Babylon doesn't last very long, only from 625 BC to 539 BC, essentially, under those kings. And you can see biblical references here about each of these rulers over the Babylonian Empire. All right, so we're going to begin with the first king, who is Nabopolassar. Nabopolassar is the one who is credited with establishing the Chaldean dynasty in 625 BC. Now, remember we talked before about how the Babylonians were fighting against the Assyrians, and he's the one that led the Babylonians in 612 to finish off the remaining Assyrian threat near the city of Haran, Battle of Carchemish. And having accomplished that, he sent his son Nebuchadnezzar II to do battle with the Egyptians. All right, here's how it came about. Here's the map. Babylon is over here. Assyria is up here. And of course, they clash. The Babylonians come up and fight against the Assyrians up here and defeat them. But prior to that defeat, prior to that battle, we have Egypt is stepping in to help Assyria against Babylon. Remember that? And it was kind of odd because Egypt had fought against Assyria before every time. But now they're helping Assyria against Babylon. Why? Well, they hoped that by doing that, that would keep Babylon from coming over into this area and disrupting the Egyptian claims on the land of Palestine, all these areas around here. So they're helping Assyria because they know that Babylon is the up-and-coming civilization that's going to take over. Does anybody remember the name of the Pharaoh from Egypt that was going up to join the Assyrians?
Nico.
Say it again?
Nico.
Yeah, Nico or Neko. Any of you ever had a Neko wafer? The other class, nobody had ever heard of Nekos, but Sophie, you have, so that's great. They're good, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the chocolate ones or the multi-flavored ones, the different colors?
I like the different
You like the different colors? Yeah. Yeah, those are good. Sometimes they even come out with, they've got a nut kind now that's tropical fruit flavors. I don't know if you've had that or not. See, we share a likeness for the liking of the same king here. Okay, anyway. So Necho is the one who brought his Egyptian forces up to join Assyria. Now, do you remember as he's passing through Judah, here, no, that's not it. Well, he's passing through Judah. Do you remember there was the king of Judah comes out to meet him in battle to keep him from joining the Assyrians. Do you remember who that was? Josiah, good. Josiah, the boy king, comes out. And do you remember what how Necho responds to that? He tells Josiah, look, I don't want to do battle with you. I'm on my way to help the Assyrians against the Babylonians. Just don't get in my way. I have no desire to harm you. But Josiah didn't listen, and he stayed there and did battle against Necho and the Egyptians. And what happened?
He died.
Right, he got killed in battle. So Josiah is eliminated. Now, Necho takes advantage of this opportunity as there's now a vacancy on the throne, and so he has a chance to exercise a little control over Judah, so he picks the next king. Now, he does pick a son of Josiah, but he picks his third son, whose name is Jehoaz. And so Jehoaz replaces his father on the throne. Now, what happens? Well, Necho goes up and helps the Assyrians, but the Babylonians win. So what happens with Necho? Well, he's running back home. They got defeated in battle, so he's taken off back to Egypt. Well, when that occurred, he came back through Judah again, and this time he decided to take Jehoaz off the throne and take him with him as kind of a hostage and placed the second son of Josiah, whose name is Jehoiakim, on the throne. Now he took Jehoaz back to Egypt, and Jehoaz died there. So Jehoiakim is put on the throne of Egypt. There is a slight, very thin arrow pointing from here down to Egypt, indicating Jehoaz was taken to Egypt. Very hard to see. I know, I need to make a better arrow. So Jehoaz was taken in chains to Egypt, and he died there. And in addition, Necho imposed a levy of 100 talents of gold and silver on Jerusalem. So he picks who the king is going to be, and then he tells them, okay, now you got to pay me a bunch of money. Well, what Necho didn't count on was that running away after the Battle of Carchemish wouldn't get him out of the woods, because Nabopolassar sent his son after Necho, and his name is Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar's chasing after Necho, and of course he comes down through Judah, and he arrives then at Jerusalem, and he sees that Jehoiakim is on the throne, but he's paying tribute to Necho of Egypt, and Nebuchadnezzar simply says, okay, you can stay on the throne, but now you're paying me. So now Judah becomes a vassal state of Babylon. And this is the first of 3 visits that Nebuchadnezzar would make to Jerusalem. But that's as far as Nebuchadnezzar got chasing after Necho. He gets down here to Jerusalem, and he doesn't go any further because he gets word that his father had just died. And so he had occupied the city for a while, He allowed Jehoiakim to continue as his puppet king. He took some of the temple treasury and some of the key royal family and took them back to Babylon. Now, some of the royal family that he took with him included Daniel and his 3 friends. Most of you know them by their Chaldean names that are given to them later, which is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right? You remember those? That's when they were taken to Babylon, this first visit. Now, in the north and the east, bordering the Babylonian Empire, and it's not this big as it would be later, but here they have the area of Media. These are the Medes that are living there. And so the Babylonians have to watch out for them. And then down here, it's Egypt, because they've only conquered down to here at this point. And so Egypt is an enemy on the south. Well, things go along for a couple of years, and Jehoiakim finally comes to the realization, you know, that Nebuchadnezzar guy hasn't been around in a while. It's been 3 years, and I haven't seen him. I wonder if anybody would notice if I just stopped sending the tribute. This might be a good time. He's all the way over there, Babylon, pretty close to Egypt here. Maybe it would be a good time to just stop sending it. Seem like a good idea? What do you think? Was that a good idea?
Yeah. No.
You're smarter than Jehoiakim. But then again, you have hindsight, right? Well, so 3 years after his surrender to Nebuchadnezzar, Jehoiakim refused the tribute payment. Well, the reaction of Babylon was swift. First, the Babylonians directed the unrest of Judah's neighbors against her, mainly in the east. So the areas to the east of Judah, Babylon encouraged to attack, to try to take over parts of Judah. Then the Chaldean army came up against Jerusalem in 598 BC. So they traveled over here and came down to Jerusalem, 598 BC, and laid siege to the city. Now Jehoiakim has a problem. The problem is he refused to pay tribute, and now Nebuchadnezzar has come and surrounded his city. What's he going to do?
Pay tribute.
That would be the logical thing, right? He does something that's quite unexpected, though. He died. Got him out of that mess, right? Some think he was murdered, but we don't know for sure. So Jehoiakim dies, and he's replaced by his son, Jehoiachin. Now, somehow you got to keep straight that Jehoiakim comes before Jehoiachin. If you come up with a good way, let everybody else know so we can get in on it. I haven't figured out anything yet. Kim before Chin. All right, so Jehoiachin now is left with a problem of his own, right? Daddy just rebelled against the Babylonians. The Babylonians have surrounded Jerusalem. Now what's Jehoiachin going to do? Bill?
Oh, I just had a way to remember that.
Oh, do you what?
Well, in the alphabet, N comes right before N.
Oh, so if you just look at the last letter,
Yeah.
Jehoiakim and Jehoiachin. That might work.
Yeah.
All right, so what's Jehoiachin going to do? He's got a problem. He's surrounded by the Babylonians. What are his choices? Oh, in the memory of my dear father, we shall fight on.
No.
No?
Pay tribute.
Not a good idea? No. So what other alternative does he have? To pay? Well, he could kill himself. Well, let's see, Dad got out of this by dying. Maybe I can too. No, he values his own life a little more than that. So he surrenders. Surrenders to Nebuchadnezzar. So Nebuchadnezzar takes Jehoiachin off the throne and takes him back to Babylon with other captives that he has, along with many of his family and other notable people in the kingdom. This included Ezekiel, the prophet, a number of princes, judges, soldiers, craftsmen, and smiths. He took around 10,000 people of the best people, the ones who were the most knowledgeable, the most intelligent, the best at what they did. He took them, 10,000 of them, back to Babylon. He also took the rest of the treasures from the temple to Babylon. And Nebuchadnezzar decided we'll put another person on the throne, and this time he picked another son of Josiah, Zedekiah. So Josiah's had 3 different sons on the throne. None of them worked out too well. Let's see what happens with this one. He's the 4th son of Josiah. He had a rather weak character. Wasn't really the king type. Maybe that's why Nebuchadnezzar picked him. He figured he wouldn't be any trouble. The problem is that he was drawn into a new rebellion against Babylon. Egypt said, we'll help, but he got advice from the other nations around Palestine. And they said, hey, come on. If you rebel against Nebuchadnezzar, we will too. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
Yeah.
Where a group of people said, hey, let's all do this. And then you're the only one that did it?
Yeah.
What was the situation?
There's a couple. Like, I forget. It's one of those things where you know you did it, but you forget.
Yeah. Hopefully it wasn't something too bad.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, let's all wear this clothing tomorrow. Or let's all do our hair this way tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Me and Kaden decided to wear a suit to school. I was the only one that did it.
So Caden threw you under the bus. Well, that's what happened here to Zedekiah. Everybody else says, yeah, we'll join you. But then when Nebuchadnezzar showed up, they're all back, what do I think about this? They're all playing safe. Well, Nebuchadnezzar was pretty ticked off over having to come over here a 3rd time. And so he basically destroyed a bunch of cities throughout Judah. At the time, the Edomites also came up from the south and invaded Judah, seeing that they were weak. And finally, they came and besieged Jerusalem. The siege was lifted for a short time because they heard a rumor that the Egyptians were coming. And so Nebuchadnezzar left Jerusalem to go fight the Egyptians, but they didn't come. And so they reimposed the siege, which lasted 30 months. That's almost 3 years for those of you from Rogers. 30 months, that's a long time to be cooped up in a city without any food or water coming in and out. 30 months. In the summer of 587 BC, the walls of the city were breached and Jerusalem was captured. A month later, the Babylonians broke down the city walls and burned the entire city, including the temple. Solomon's temple was destroyed. They took many of the survivors into exile. Zedekiah and his sons were brought before Nebuchadnezzar, and in front of Zedekiah, his sons were executed. And then they put out Zedekiah's eyes. So the last thing he saw was his own sons being killed. Then they took Zedekiah back to Babylon, and he died there in Babylon. Now, most of the exiles from this time were brought over in the area of the river Kheber, which is in this area. I think it might be this river right here between Babylon and Nippur. So that's where most of them were settled. So they're pretty near Babylon. The number of exiles is given in Jeremiah 52, but that might include just the important families, not everybody that was taken. So Judah lasted longer than Israel because they did have the temple and they did periodically worship the one true God. But eventually the wickedness of Judah and their going after idolatry and forsaking God also brought them to judgment. Only this time it wasn't the Assyrians, it was the Babylonians. But imagine what that was like for those living in Jerusalem, in Judah. They've been uprooted from where they live. There's no more temple, no more city. They're lost in another country. Okay, don't forget to read and highlight the article, The Destruction of the First Temple, for tomorrow.